You have probably never designed your own model of the universe, but you've probably played a card game. And either way, you should have the same fear: disembodied cosmic brains. Don't believe me? Well, pick up an ordinary deck of playing cards. Shuffle it well, riffle it about 7 times, and then flip it over. Congratulations! You are likely the first and last person to ever hold that specific order of cards, but I want to show you why it's true. A deck has 52 cards, so the number of possible ways to order the deck is 52 factorial. 52 times 51 times 50, all the way down to 1. Do the math and you get a number that is 68 digits long. Now, a number this big stops meaning anything to most people, but we're gonna force it to. If we give every single person on Earth, all 8 billion of us, their own deck of playing cards, and we have them shuffle those once every second, revealing a brand new, never-before-seen order of the deck, and we have them continue to do that every second, not for a year, not for the average human lifetime, not for the entirety of human history, but for the entire age of the universe, then we still would have not revealed even 1/trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of the possible unique orders that that deck of cards is capable of producing. And while wrapping your head around the scale of 52 factorial is mind-bending, it doesn't quite on its own produce a disembodied cosmic brain. In order to understand why I said that we as card game players should fear that concept, we have to also look at the cosmic side of the statement. And we should look at the cosmic side of things while we can, because everything is slowly sliding towards a state of lukewarm, featureless nothing. That is the second law of thermodynamics. Everything isn't necessarily moving towards literally nothing, but it is moving towards maximum entropy. And if you become maximum entropy, well, let's ask Ludwig Boltzmann what happens. The formula to calculate entropy is what's engraved on Boltzmann's grave. Suffice to say, if you, I, or anything else in the universe becomes maximum entropy, we would functionally be nothing to our own interpretation of meaning and purpose. But the reason this formula is on Boltzmann's grave is because he came up with it. He literally figured out what entropy is, how to calculate it. Despite that fact, though, Boltzmann's name is associated more with brains. Boltzmann brains, and funny enough, they have nothing to do with Boltzmann's brain, but they are the brain that we should be afraid of, and this is why. Boltzmann had a hypothesis that perhaps our universe looked something like this. It was at a state of maximum entropy. If these are a bunch of atoms, they are in no particular arrangement, but with enough time, they might be forced into order by some random jiggle. That random jiggle would be a fluctuation in entropy. And if the universe is infinitely large with an infinite number of particles, then by sheer chance alone, Boltzmann proposed that our universe could be a fluctuation out of entropy. And while the idea that you and I are standing in the result of a massive fluctuation is both beautiful and terrifying, it does have some problems that make it hard to believe. See, fluctuations become exponentially less likely to occur the more disorder that they have to undo. Randomly jiggling 10 atoms into place, that's rare. 100? That is astronomically rarer. Not 100 times harder. The odds fall off of a cliff, and they keep falling faster and faster the more order you are asking chance to assemble for you. So if we are a fluctuation, what would be the cheapest probability fluctuation that explains us observing the universe now? The cheapest version would be a brain. Possibly yours or mine, floating in the dark. It flickered into existence a few seconds ago, already convinced that it had childhood, a body, and this video. Every memory fabricated on arrival, every star that it's ever seen is just a detail in a massive hallucination that's already on its way to dissolving. That's a Boltzmann brain. Boltzmann didn't propose that. He'd been dead for decades when the term was coined. The Boltzmann brain wasn't dreamed up as a serious theory of what we might be. It was dreamed up as a trap to show where his idea leads if you follow it all the way down. Because if the fluctuation picture was right, brains like that would outnumber real universes by margins that make 52 factorial look like pocket change. Random chance would be pumping out lonely, deluded minds essentially forever, and only very occasionally splurging on an entire cosmos. Which means the theory predicts that you are almost certainly one of them. And that's where it falls apart. If our ordered patch of reality were the smallest fluke needed to produce this moment, then only the parts anyone has already looked at need to be ordered. Remember, every additional bit of order makes the fluke exponentially more expensive. So point a telescope somewhere nobody's ever pointed one, crack a rock open that nobody's ever split. If we're the minimal fluke, finding more order out there should surprise us every single time. But it never surprises us. That is the counter-argument proposed by this stud right here, Richard Feynman. Every new place we look fits the same coherent 13 billion year history. Now, a determined defender can always say the fluke was just bigger, big enough to include whatever we found, but notice what that costs. Every escape makes the fluke exponentially more expensive, which is the whole problem, and that retreat leads straight into the knockout. The idea eats itself. If you really were a brain with a bunch of fabricated memories, then your memory of physics is fake. Your sense that reasoning was sound is fake, which includes the reasoning that just told you you're a brain. It's a theory that, if true, gives you no reason to believe it. That idea is called cognitive instability, popularized by Sean Carroll, and like the rest of this video so far, it might make you feel pretty good. I mean, we have mostly concluded that you are almost certainly not some fluctuated brain floating out in the void. Well, not so fast. We are still not safe. At the start of this video, I said that you have probably never designed your own model of the universe, but you have probably played a card game. And the issue lies in the fact that that's a matter of probability. And despite cosmic order, humans love to design things that play God with the concept of probability. The best example being the deck of cards. It lets us play with probability. And if somebody designs their own card game, then they're effectively building their own model of the universe, not dissimilar to the work of Ludwig Boltzmann. They're looking at a set of laws and building blocks to construct this idea of how reality might play out for players inside the game. But their ideas have the exact same predator that Ludwig Boltzmann's model had, a brain. Boltzmann's model was never killed by what it was killed by what it created, something cheap. If someone designs a game that has the same errors as Boltzmann's, then players are able to ignore what was actually intended for them and find the minimum available to skip to the end of the game. Why interact with some beautifully crafted model when they can overtake limits in the rules by purely efficiently optimizing their idea? Kinda the same as fluctuating a brain into existence, but instead of a conscious observer, it's a win. But we don't have to limit this discussion to card games. Human design really is what is allowing the cosmic horror to reassemble in something arbitrary. And ironically, that element of human design is what allows us to face the cosmic horror on a truly existential level. See, any system, whether it's the universe or the product of human design, is not going to be defined by what it might possibly contain. It's going to be defined by what it most probably will produce. Boundless possibility space in terms of our human experience, that is practically free. That's what the scale of 52 factorial demonstrates. Any shuffle of a 52 card deck can be a once-in-history event, but it can also still mean nothing to you or I. We don't play games by flipping over the deck and looking at the exact order of it. Albert Einstein famously insisted that he could not believe God might be playing dice with the universe. That was his objection to quantum randomness. And I wanted to be able to say Einstein might prefer God might be playing cards with the universe, but I've realized that a more revealing question to ask is whether or not the game is well designed. Its most probable outputs aren't a bunch of lonely brains dying in the void. The output of the universe is stars and chemistry, 13.8 billion years of a sequential history that has led directly to you watching this video. In the grand scheme of our cosmos, the most probable thing and the beautiful thing appear to be the same. The universe achieves whatever its design is over billions of years with the infinite weight of physics backing it. But you can do the same thing in an afternoon with a piece of paper. Creating a card game is taking the functionally endless probability space of something like 52 factorial and using your human creativity to enforce coherency and constraint upon it. You are literally bounding limitless potential so that another person might get to experience a specific idea of structural beauty that you have imagined. Infinity is free, but we are all going to experience far less than that. Which is why the best ideas can only exist if you make them probable enough to show up. This has been Seance, and as always, keep playing games and keep making things.